Liverpool beat Burnley by 4-2. This is the Anfield Wrap. I am Neil Atkinson. We are in association with RedsBet. If you are interested in that sort of thing, and it is the week of Cheltenham, first and foremost, we had some stuff on the weekend. If you haven't heard it, listen to it about Cheltenham, and we'll be having stuff every single day on Talking Red through our YouTube channel. If you haven't even checked that out in general, do so. Loads of fantastic stuff on that, the Anfield Wrap. But RedsBet, if that is for you, and regardless, always gamble responsibly. I have got Ian, Ryan, Joel, Richards and Gareth Roberts for the Reds to talk about Liverpool 4, Burnley 2. Gareth, Liverpool had every excuse to feel sorry for themselves. Early contentious goal conceded, unbelievable weather, the elbows and the endlessness of Burnley Football Club, and yet they stood tall. They did not feel sorry for themselves. They won the game.
Yeah, it was great, wasn't it? I really enjoyed it. I think it was, as you say, loads of reasons where it could have been difficult, not least an early goal for Burnley that should have been chalked off. So you can feel sorry for yourself about that. But also as well, that you think, when you've seen enough games like that where you go, that's played into their hands. They're going to be absolutely made up to have an early goal, to put 9 fellas behind the ball and just sit there and go, come on. And that's something you've seen Liverpool at times this season, at times last season, at times forever struggle to get through at times when teams do that. And I think any team does, because if you get organised and you're well drilled, you can stop teams, and that's what you thought Burnley were going to set out to do once they got that early goal. But as it was, Liverpool kept finding a way despite the weather, and I think we've got to really mention the weather as well. I know like some people lose their head over mentioning weather, but it's really mad that you do, because the weather was fucking wild. Like I know loads of people who ran the half marathon yesterday.
God. Yeah, shouts out to them.
And like, oh my God, because
Steph, etc. Yeah,
I seen there was one lad I know, and he tweeted about it when he'd finished, and he basically said turned onto like Otterspool Prom, and he said it was just full blast in your face. And he said, I've never heard so many people simultaneously say fucking hell at the same time. and they were trying to run in it, and our lads were trying to run it and control the ball. And you had hail, you had rain, you had sunshine, you had wind that changed direction during the match, by the way.
At times during a pass, it felt like
there was one pass that like flew out of play because the wind caught it, and then a pass was played in the same direction later on to Mo, and it spun in the wind and went backwards. And it was like, it's fine for the manager to reference this, because it's fucking hard to play footy, isn't it?
Well, as someone who ran his first half marathon 5 years ago in that type of weather, I totally agree. I'm going on to that, the last 5 miles, I just went, oh shit, like just running down there. So my sympathies were with anyone who's running that half marathon yesterday. A couple of mates of mine did, and just yesterday I was just sitting there in that ground thinking, why the fuck have I come home to this weather? Sorry lads, but I have not missed this weather at all, and I'm glad I've only got one more.
The hail was enormous. Like I've seen, there's hail and there's hail. It was enormous balls of hail, Joel. It does make a difference, and I think that again, this is a reason to praise Liverpool. Liverpool just, insofar as anyone can, they just get on with this.
Yeah, we rolled it out. And I think that's a testament to the players and to the manager that, like, I know Klopp's been big on the wins, and he gets a lot of flack from rival supporters who go, why's he's used every excuse in the book. And by the way, if he's haven't seen that song already from a certain group of fans coming back from a 3-2 defeat on Saturday, we're singing about Klopp and his excuses in the way. But anyway, no, it was massive. God, my hood's up and everything in the ground. I was just like shaking like a shit on dog. Just going, oh my God, can't be doing it, can't live with this.
It was freezing.
And fair play to them, honestly, right? The way sometimes, like I was sitting right down on row 7 in the lower Cameron, and the ball, it actually stopped at times. There's no Wijnaldum was trying to get it hold of it, couldn't get it hold of it. The Burnley defenders, Tarkowski and Mick, they couldn't get rid of it. And even in the second half, when it was a bit sunny, Van Dijk and Matip, how they dealt with that, fair play to the lads, honestly.
People were going up for headers, shading their eyes as it's going up, because the sun just from nowhere is suddenly ridiculously high in the sky, and the kick-off time as well around that. Ian, last little bit on the weather, although it does impact everything, is one of the things I like with the weather is sometimes you see some players go, it's mad, is it then? Sound. I'm going to really get stuck in. I think you saw that from Firmino. I think you saw it from Lallana. I think that it was almost as though it's absolutely crazy, is it? All right, yeah, let's really enjoy this and see what we can use it for.
No, I agree with the boys there. I mean, it was no fun to drive in, let alone fucking play footy and run a marathon in. So fair play to the lads. You're right to reference certain players, I think, got acclimatised to it. Lallana was definitely one of those. Firmino too. I think it might be mentioned on the post-match show, but there was a couple of players. I think Van Dijk tries a couple of big diags and then realises they ain't finding a man, so I'll stop doing that. Trent was probably one who didn't quite get accustomed
First
to the
half,
weather.
yeah.
First half, he's putting a lot of high balls, and it probably wasn't the way to go anyway, given Burnley are so strong in terms of an aerial kind of coverage, I suppose, with me and Tarkowski, both big lads, both love a challenge in the air. But you're right to reference it, Neil. I thought, like, certainly Van Dijk, certainly your Firminos of this world, your Lallanas, they got used to it pretty quickly.
On the whole game, Ian, the early goal, it's easy to say galvanised the side. You don't actually get to know, because you don't get a control experiment. We don't get to see another version without the early goal, you know what I mean? But Liverpool's response to it was terrific, and without ever playing brilliantly, the football wasn't ace, but they really put tons of pressure on Burnley. I think that we used to describing great football as football that cuts sides apart, whereas Liverpool just pinned Burnley back and just disrupted them until you got Burnley players are turning around trying to work out where they're meant to be.
You know what? I was delighted with the performance, to be honest, because there were so many things there that could have stopped Liverpool from getting a win. You know, you referenced the early goal, and I think that does help us because it does galvanise us a bit. We feel a bit hard done by, and you see how Alisson reacts to the goal. He's absolutely fucking fuming, and it was a foul. There's no doubt about it. I mean, in the current climate of how football is played, you get that foul every time. Goalies always get that foul every time. So there was no doubt it gives us a little bit of a kick up the arse, I suppose. And I think, 12 o'clock doesn't lend itself great to footy, but I thought the Reds, they reacted really, really well, and we do pin Burnley back. And as I say, overall, I thought it was a really, really good performance. And if you look at other teams who've won titles, you can't just win titles and win football matches in one way. Look at some of those Arsenal teams that have won titles, the Chelsea teams as well. They could handle any condition, any type of opponent, and Liverpool get tested there to the absolute maximum, because Burnley play all right as well. That's the thing. You got to know, Burnley don't turn up and just roll over. They make a real game of it, and that goal gives them a boost, and they think, right, we got something to cling on to here. You see the next 10, they take loads of time over throw-ins, loads of time over free kicks, they're going down, grabbing a minute or whatever they can, just stop Liverpool getting that momentum.
Funny when Dyche was moaning about time wasting later on, wasn't it? Like,
Mate,
you having a laugh, lad?
How much fucking moaning does he do, by the way? But no, Liverpool found a way, and that was the most pleasing thing, really. It wasn't a case of heads down, it was very much heads up, and you see someone like Lallana come to the fore, and I thought his performance was great.
They were excellent, I thought, Joel, from 15 to 30. Within there, Firmino gets his goal. When it comes, it felt like it's just started to. You've shifted a little bit from, I'm worried we're not going to get something here, to, all right, something's coming, and that's when the goal comes, and then Liverpool are making it 2-1. It was the most Liverpool are making this 2-1 scenario I'd seen for a while. They actually arguably take the foot off the gas a little bit after they make it 2-1, but they are all over Burnley saying we are getting in 2-1 by half time.
Yeah, I totally agree, and in my opinion, I felt the first 15 minutes in both halves were bad, but we'll come to that later, I'm sure. But after we rolled out the 15 minutes in each half, first half in particular, like you said, got the equaliser, and then instead of the narrative being this has got all the hallmarks of Liverpool slipping up, losing, or even just drawing at worst, it's gone from being, right, we're 1-1, we're going to get back into this now, we're going to stamp our authority on the game, we're going to go 2-1 up, we went 2-1 up, and then from there, we consoled it then. At any point, I didn't really feel like after we went 2-1 up that, we're gonna blow this. Even when it went to 3-2 late on in the night, it was like, I felt, we're going to ride this out. Okay, it was a bit nervy, a bit jangly at the end, but we rolled it out, obviously got the fourth as well. But that first half in particular, I think every player, how they performed and how they responded to going behind was fantastic, and I'd say it's even one of the best moments of the season, arguably.
Gareth, the second goal sort of epitomises so much of what had been good in the run-up to the second goal. Lallana, they're under some pressure, they're clearing the lines, they're hurried, Lallana reads it, fantastic tackle. Salah, without being brilliant, forces it, makes them have to do something, and the finish is just tremendous from Mane. It is the goal that sort of sums up the 20 minutes that had preceded it.
Yeah, absolutely. And that moment from Lallana, I've seen some people sort of trying to discredit his performance, which I don't really get what that's about. Like, I don't really get why, if you're a Liverpool fan, you're going to great lengths to dial down what he did, because look, I was one of the people that walking up to the ground when I heard he was in the team. I didn't understand it, and I was moaning to my mates. I'm not going to pretend I wasn't. And and I was saying I don't get why he's in there ahead of the likes of Shaqiri or ahead of Keita. And I was saying, like, he hasn't even scored a goal since Middlesbrough on the last day of the season the other year. And I just, I was having a proper moan about it on the way up. And then, he started the game and he looked fit, he looked fresh. he was running everywhere, and you know, I see loads of people sort of quoting stats and stuff. Great. But it's not all about stats. I think you know, the endeavour he's shown, just the sort of the effort he put in, how far he was running back to put tackles in. He was all over the pitch. You know, that was impressive. And I think as well, it's sound to just like be made up for one of your players.
Yeah,
because he's had like a
plays for Liverpool, and that, doesn't he?
Yeah, he's had a nightmare 18 months stroke 2 years. He's got on the pitch. He's contributed. You know, he celebrated that moment, that tackle that ended up leading to the goal, like he'd scored himself. And so to me as a Liverpool fan, that's hard not to enjoy. And I certainly wasn't going to get home and start like pulling up stats to say how shite he'd been. And yet some people were. And I just, you know, we all support Liverpool in different ways and with different people, but I just found that a little bit weird, to be honest with you. Thought he was great, ran himself into the ground, and, you know, was chugging when he got subbed, and, you know, rightly got a big round of applause from everyone as well. And I think he's been given man of the match by some outlets. And again, that was sort of decried on social media by some fans. Why?
But Rob, your point there, I think it's okay to question things like team selection.
Yeah,
that's what we do as fans.
Yeah.
So there's nothing wrong with that. But like
since
you say,
began,
you know, if a lad then delivers a performance like that, then you should celebrate that. Surely, it's madness, really. And I think, you know, my take on Lallana, I'll be honest, like you were then, I think he probably should have been sold and moved on and upgraded on in the summer. But
there's still a question. And there's still a question mark over him. But he's 30 years old. He's got to do that regularly.
Absolutely. But if you look at that performance in isolation, you can't say anything other than it was a tremendous performance, and he had a massive impact on Liverpool winning that football match.
It's a performance that's basically saying, listen, I've worked hard in training all week for this, and he's probably worked harder in the likes of Shaqiri and Keita. That's why he started yesterday. You know, he's probably gone to Klopp all week and saying, listen, I'm up for this, I'm ready for this, I want this, and he's fighting against the dying embers of, you know, his career basically at Liverpool, isn't he? You know, there could be a possibility he might move on in the summer. There might not be. He might hang around as a squad player. And it was just a little reminder, listen, I'm still here. I'm still going to give me all for this team. And wherever I get the chance, I'm going to work my bollocks off. And he did. And that was the Lallana performance that we saw under Klopp when he first came in. Like you say, the first 18 months under Klopp, I think he was one of our best players.
I think it's. I'm surprised, but this is part of, you know, I don't really follow football accounts on Twitter anymore, so I don't know. They could be saying anything. Fair play to them. But there is a.
Don't want to laugh, you know, mate.
I'm happy with what I've got. To be honest with you, it's for me on the selection. I was a bit like, all right, yeah, let's have a little look and see how this is. But you know, it's one of them where the manager's took a gamble, Gareth. But it's all right that it pays off, and we get to say, yeah, it's paid off. That the lad plays well in the afternoon, and it's difficult to argue, I'd have thought, with the fact that he plays really well. It's all right that he plays really well because he plays for Liverpool.
And also as well, I think all the time you've got to think about sort of the dynamics of the management and what you know, selecting one person and leaving someone else does, you know, what it does psychologically and things like that. So, you know, Klopp was quoted on it. You know, Klopp was asked about it after the game, and I thought the quote was good. I've got it here. He says, we had a long training week and we had a lot of sessions, and I said at the beginning of the week it's possible to show up. And he said, we play a lot of times with 12, 13 and 14 players, so it's important the boys know that. Adam used that, not only Adam, but especially him. And it was clear that if he played like he trained, then he could help us a lot, and that's how it happened. Said he's good on the ball, and he's a pretty aggressive boy as well. The counter-press is a game changer, and it's a brilliant thing that he did in that moment. It didn't look promising until Adam jumped in. But that's sent a big message out, hasn't it, to Keita, to Shaqiri, to Lallana as well.
Sturridge, Origi,
you name the lads. You can all get involved, boys. You know, there's still
Dexy loving if he's had his Calpol.
Yeah. You know. But and so, you know, maybe he's done it for that reason a little bit as well. But he's thought he's fit enough to contribute. It's Burnley at home, like he says. You know, he's good on the ball. He takes care of the ball mostly, but he has got that little bit of aggression. He has got that drive, and I think it's been said a lot of Lallana before, but it set a tone. How he was trying to win that ball.
On the tactically, Joel, it was similar to Milner against Watford, where there's loads and loads of vertical running. So I think that you saw, and you get to see, you know, there's other players who are more comfortable. I think Wijnaldum and Henderson and Fabinho to some extent are all happier. Fabinho now plays where he plays as well pretty regularly, but I think that Wijnaldum and Henderson are happier, I think. Diagonal running, we'll say, diagonal football maybe, rather than sort of vertical, charging you down, getting stuck in, wanting to join midfield and attack. I think that Wijnaldum and Henderson's best football this year has been at pure midfielders, and that's why it's interesting for me. It's as much as you know, the manager's talking about training, he's using it to talk about training, but there is also a tactical thing there where he'll have looked at what Milner does against Watford, looked at the fact that we've got Burnley at home next, and he's probably thinking, out of everything I've seen this week, who's best to do a version of that? And he ends up with Lallana.
Yeah, and you know, he's obviously looked at it and saying, and as you say, you know, he's had a full week at training, which is very rare for Liverpool, isn't it? You know, they've had a full week to prepare. So right, we're focusing everything on Burnley. We haven't got no other distractions, and the fact that you've took Milner out and you put Lallana in, you know, he's just basically like, he's the water carrier, isn't he? He's got, like, you know, as you say, you've got the other midfielders who are diagonally running. They're a bit further back. You know, yesterday you had Fabinho and Wijnaldum more sitting really, didn't you? And then Lallana's had more of a free role to sort of go at it, to be the main man behind the front three and to kick things on from there. And he's just sort of, you know, he's basically took that game by the scruff of the neck, and especially up against the Burnley side who play 4-4-2. It's it in and up to the big lads, and you know, you're getting in between the lines there.
He was, I think you're right to reference that kind of almost that link man between midfield and attack, and I think that's something Liverpool have probably missed quite a bit in recent games, certainly in away games. And I think, you know, I was just delighted with his performance. I think you're right, Rob. Sorry, Neil.
When you talk about that link, man, one of the things that I think is difficult for all of us as supporters, when you talk to me about a link between midfield and attack, I think of really silky footballers. That's not to have a conversation about whether or not Lallana's silky, but like your classic sort of number 10 style. You get me on the ball, I'll waltz past a couple, I'll feed a little through ball through. Milner and Lallana's performances against Watford and Burnley, they've very much been the link men. But it's not, you know, it's not Pablo Aimar. No. You know what I mean? It's not David Silva. Yeah. It's something else. It's something quite different, isn't it? And I think that's something, and I do think that this feeds into sort of a wider debate. Is, listen, we'd all theoretically like silkier football at times. You can have that chat, but I think it's difficult, isn't it, sometimes to go, well, there's more than one way to do this. You haven't got to do it in that conventional manner. And I think that's what you've seen from Milner and Lallana, and arguably what you didn't see from any of the midfield three or anyone who came on in the Merseyside derby.
I think that's fair, but I think also, when you look at the other attributes that Lallana and Milner bring, they work really hard as well, and they are very, very adept at taking on instruction from the manager from a defensive point of view. And I think that's where maybe he's looked at Shaqiri and Kite and thought, do I trust you completely from a defensive point of view? I'm not so sure he does. I think Robbo's point about a message to other players is absolutely right. And I think as fans sometimes, we just judge these players, as you rightly would do, because we only see them 90 minutes, once a week, maybe twice a week, but the manager's got them every day. Every single day, and he knows what they're offering in training, and if they're taking on board what he's asking of them and he's operating a meritocracy, at some point he's got to say, here's your chance, or how does it work? Because if a player gives his all and is doing absolutely everything over a number of weeks and months and they never get an opportunity, that can't sit well with players in the squad. So at some point he's got to give them that opportunity to get into the first team. That's what he does with Lallana, and Lallana pays him back. Well,
it was just only a week ago, Ian, you know, like in the away end at Goodison, when Lallana's number comes up and he's coming on, there's a collective like, oh fucking hell, why is he coming on? Like, and I know one mate of mine in particular, he absolutely can't stand Lallana. He was absolutely losing his head over it, and he's just like, if you were going off that alone, and even the performance that Lallana subsequently gave, you'd be like, no way should he start against Burnley. You'd be thinking, yeah, get a Shaqiri and get a Keita in, you know, why aren't they coming on? And then, like, for the performance, for him to come from that basis and then to give the performance that he gave yesterday, you know, it gives you then another thinking. You're thinking, well, actually, you know, he's not that bad. It's not that bad a selection at all. You know, when it's a kick up the arse for not just him, but a kick up the arse.
You'd have to give the manager huge credit, to be fair.
Yeah,
it's a brave decision.
Is there something else, Gareth, where we, again, talking about sort of shifting mentalities and how difficult that can be for all football supporters at times? That, you look at this Liverpool side, it's fair to say, goalkeeper, first name on the team sheet, Van Dijk, from everything we've seen through the season, Van Dijk, Robertson, playing every game. The manager may, if he was sitting here, say it's not quite as straightforward on the right-hand side between Gomez, Trent, Lovren, and even Matip now. But, you know, not quite as straightforward there. But that's a pretty solid three on that left-hand side. Up front, we know his front three or his front three. They're his boys. They're the three lads who, if they're fit, no matter what shape's going to get played, those three will start. Maybe Fabinho is now in the category of these players. You'd think, you know, he may well have got himself there. But do we sort of need to accept that he is going to rotate in that midfield? He's going to rotate every game in that midfield.
I was going to say that because you think back to when, you know, think back across the time he's been the manager, and I think there was a time where he tried to just play the best lads as much as possible, and they ran out of steam. And then I think, you know, by his own admission, he saw that was a problem, changed tact, and then became the manager that rotated the most. And then I think what we're seeing this season is that at times maybe his arm's been up his back a little bit in terms of injuries and form and things like that. But I think what he's trying to do, you know, business end of the season, but I think he's trying to involve as many of the lads as possible and get something out of them. because I think that's why you're suddenly seeing Origi get involved. Now you're seeing Lallana get involved. You'd even see Sturridge get on the pitch when I think, me included again, you were saying, I think we've seen the last of him now. I think that's it. And then he comes on, plays a beautiful assist, and you think, oh, hello, you can contribute something at the right time in certain games. And that's what management is, isn't it? You know, it's using all these players, it's using the squad. You know, I hear people all the time, even like, even the fair blue noses, they do exist, you know. A fair blue nose was saying to me yesterday, you know, Liverpool have the title won in any other season, really, obviously if they're not up against City. And he's like, but City's strength and depth is unbelievable. And he said, and that's your problem as from Liverpool's point of view. And that is Klopp's problem. But what he's trying to do is solve that problem by involving these lads. So all of a sudden now, you know, you'll look at Lallana and okay, he's probably not going to play 3, 4, 5 on the spin and be brilliant in them all. But what he is now is a player that you think, he could have a little impact here and there, and it just changes the mindset a little bit around that player all of a sudden.
I've long thought that Klopp, when he came over, Joel, I wonder whether or not I think there's been 3 or 4 things that people haven't quite got onto. I think the first thing is that Klopp's realised from the minute he's arrived that at some point he's going to have to do battle with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City. And if you see every decision that Klopp's made pretty much since he's arrived through the lens of a man who knows at some point he's going to have to go toe-to-toe with Pep Guardiola's Manchester City, it makes an unbelievable amount of sense. An example of that, but it's not the only one, is waiting for Van Dijk. He waits for Van Dijk because he knows if he's going to have a chance to deal with Pep Guardiola's City, getting a centre-half in who's 8.5 out of 10 and paying a fortune for him, or getting a centre-half in who's 9.5 out of 10 and paying a little bit more and being patient. Well, I need to do that. I need the 9.5, 10 out of 10 one, because the only way we beat these is if we look like we can get 100 points. But I think there's something else he's done, and I always cite them. You know, I think he's looked at what's been successful in English football, and I think he's looked back to like United from about 07, 08, where, you know, they had Rooney and they had Tevez and they had Ronaldo.
Berbatov as well.
And but Berbatov arrives after that. But 07, 08, I've just got the stats in front of me because it's helpful. And I've just got them up. So Ronaldo gets 49 appearances, all comps, 07, 08. Rooney gets 43, all comps. Tevez gets 48, all comps. So that's his front three, Ferguson. They play every game. But then you look down, and Hargreaves gets 34 all comps. Anderson, and a lot of sub appearances. Anderson 38 double figure sub appearances. Giggs 43 double figure sub appearances. Park gets 18. Carrick 39 double figure sub appearances. Nani 26 double figure sub appearances. Scholes 30. Fletcher 11 starts, 13 sub appearances. My point is, Ferguson in this season, his midfield rotates. But he's got his front three lads who are belters. And I do wonder if there are huge similarities.
Yeah, I think there are. Now you've mentioned the numbers there, especially in their midfield, because I think if you got our stats up for this season, if you went and looked at our midfield in particular, you'd get similar numbers. Like in terms of the Premier League, the only ever presence have been Alisson, Van Dijk and Salah, and we all know they're the first names on the team sheet, as we mentioned earlier. But yeah, if you went and got our stats up for this season, you'd probably find similar numbers. You'd have the front three are on, like, you know, X amount of games.
Wijnaldum's had a lot of games, but he's even cited after this game, Joel, he said Wijnaldum looks tired, and that's really interesting to me that he's come out and gone, Wijnaldum looks tired. Apart from that, they've all been in and out a little bit.
And you said on Friday, didn't you? You were expecting Wijnaldum to be rested, and I was going along with that saying of thought, because I was thinking, you know what, actually, yeah, I think if I was Klopp, I would have been resting Wijnaldum yesterday, but obviously he's gone with him. So now maybe it's a question for Wednesday. Is he going to start in Munich? I mean, I'd like to think he would, but if he is looking tired, then you're going to have to hook him. You're going to have to give him a little night off and go, listen, I know it's Bayern Munich, but you're going to have to miss this one out because you're looking knackered. And then, like, even at the start of the season, apart from Wolves, we were one of the fewest team changes. I think we didn't make a change at all until the fourth game in at Leicester. And then, like, even between then and like, say, end of October up until Huddersfield away, where he made quite a few changes for that, where Lallana starts. You know, we weren't making that many changes to the lineup. It was the odd Shaqiri coming in, or Matip coming in, or Lovren coming in. It was pretty consistent in the first half of the season.
Just to further extend my point here, Ian, Evra 48 all comps, Ferdinand 51 all comps, whereas Brown 52 all comps, 4 sub appearances, and Nemanja Vidic 45 all comps. John O'Shea gets on the pitch 38 times for United in this season. A lot of it are sub appearances. it does look to me you can match that up pretty well with this Liverpool side and this Liverpool approach. Midfield changes, it stays energetic, it does, everyone's running for it, but the defence and the attack, there's a lot of consistency.
Absolutely, and when you look at some of those midfielders, there are similarities. There's a lot of facilitators in there, as opposed to lads who get on the ball and kind of, like City, you've got your De Bruyne's and your Silvas and your Bernardo Silvas. There's a lot of facilitators in there, so you can make comparisons. And again, with the centre-halves as well. I thought yesterday at centre-half, Van Dijk was his usual imperious self. I thought Joe Matip had one of those games again, similar to at Goodison Park, where he was struggling a little bit. And I said something on the team talk show the other day where I think there's two things at play. Van Dijk he's capable of getting 15-20% out of anyone and dragging players up to another level. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, you end up comparing people to Van Dijk, and that doesn't do anyone any favours at all. So, you know what I mean? You're talking about Joel Matip, and at times he can be the absolute opposite. You see Van Dijk, and he's so aggressive, and he can handle any type of footballer. So whether the lad's diminutive and fast, Van Dijk can handle him. If it's Troy Deeney, brings something totally different, he can handle him. But I think Matip has got obvious weaknesses.
Do you think he has to work a game out a bit more? That's one of the things I keep seeing from Matip. Like I think he's often decent 25 to 45, but it's been a bit weird till 25. So that's fair.
I think it is, yeah, and I think that is fair. And I think obviously there's certain type of opponents that maybe don't suit him. So you see yesterday, it's Chris Ward, it's Ashley Barnes, two physical lads, and it doesn't faze Van Dijk because he's got that aggressionism in him. But I don't think Matip has. And you see times yesterday where he's waiting for the ball to come to him as opposed to going to meet it and challenge for it. You see him do it in the air as well. But certainly those two lads who like to rough you up, I don't think that's a natural fit for Matip and how he plays his game.
I think the derby was like that for him last week. It was a bit weird in parts, but I thought personally that he actually got through it okay. I thought he actually gave a decent performance of himself. Van Dijk got man the match by far, but I thought Matip alongside him wasn't that bad. Not saying he was great, but he wasn't that bad.
Do you think he makes his teammates a little nervous, Gareth? I've been sort of thinking about this recently, whether or not Liverpool, there's been a lot of talk about whether or not Liverpool are jittery and all of this sort of stuff. I've been wondering whether or not it's in part something with Matip. I think it's probably fair to say he is the fourth choice centre-back. I think that squad will know better than we know whether or not he's the fourth choice centre-back. And so that makes you think differently. How could you not? You're a professional footballer trying to win the biggest honour of your career. So I do wonder whether or not there is a little bit of him at times, maybe infectiously, sort of his own early jitters can spread.
Yeah, maybe. I'd still look at it in the context yesterday of saying, Burnley scored 2 goals, but that's it. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? There was no real time during the game where I was really, really worried about what Burnley were doing. I think they had the only 2 shots they have. But for Matip, I think he's another one of those where now Gomez has grown even more in stature while he's been injured. Do you know what I mean? So we all rated him anyway. Of course we did. He did fantastically. But while he's been away, you're counting down the hours and the days until he returns, basically. And I really, I think it's a great shame for the lad that he's suffered these injuries time and again, and hopefully it isn't a pattern that continues through his career, because if we can get him on the pitch more often than not, him and Van Dijk is a totally different prospect. And I think to say, I think if we're looking ahead to the summer and we're looking ahead to transfers and stuff like that, I don't think it'd be any great surprise if Liverpool do some business at centre-half, because I don't think you can fully rely on Matip. I would still say you can't fully rely on Lovren as well. I think he's done better at times, looked better when he's with Van Dijk, as Ian mentioned before. But I'd still like us to go.
Well, the first Lovren problem, it's not his performance, it's his attendance.
Yeah, another one of them, isn't it? Yeah, I mean, and it's the same around Gomez. Real talent, but he's got that pattern of injury now. Same with Lovren. Lovren just seems to bang his head on his way out of the door or something, and he's not included. And then Matip's never fully convincing, is he? I know what you all mean. I actually don't think he's been that bad recently.
He's playing centre half for a team at the top.
Exactly.
Let's all
exactly. So I almost think I feel like it's become a thing for some people, Matip. And like Lallana could maybe have become a thing yesterday. I was thinking about this. I was thinking, I've seen a lot of people, me included, praising him, saying how good he did and all that. I think maybe, during a football match, your eyes are drawn to certain players for certain reasons. And I think, you're drawn to Lallana because you probably went into the ground, if you were like me, thinking, well, what the fuck's he going to do here? And then you're watching him and you're noting mentally every time he does do something. And so then you get to half time or you get to full time, you're talking to your mates over a pint and you go, he was good, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And you can remember all the reasons why. Whereas like when you use it all highlight Matip, I can't really think of loads. I know he shouldn't have conceded that corner. I can remember that. But then loads of stuff isn't coming to mind where I thought he was dog shit. Do you know what I mean?
Well, a couple of things yesterday, by where I was sitting in the lower Cameron, and my mates included, absolutely having kittens. The first thing Matip does in the match, probably jumping up, effing and blinding. I'm like, normally that's me, and I was like sitting here going, lads, calm down, come on. Like, you know, you're all getting anxious and all getting, like, you know, worked up for no reason. But another thing, yesterday, they were the first goals we've conceded in over a month since West Ham away. Yeah. So, you know, all right, I know people love to pinpoint Alisson and Van Dijk for every time we keep a clean sheet, but listen,
there's other lads in that back four.
There's other lads in that back four. They're units. You know, you keep clean sheets as a team as much as the individual. And then if we are going to sign, if in the summer, if you said to me in the summer, right, you're going to get like X amount of money to sign one big marquee player, I'd go for the centre half. As much as I do like Gomez, and I want Gomez to have this big partnership with Van Dijk, but if you want to cover your bets, me personally, I think if we've got like a 60-70 million spare in the summer, go all out.
Can I ask you a question on that? Because I'm really intrigued. So you're throwing our big marquee money on a centre half.
Yeah, honestly.
We've conceded the fewest goals in the country.
I know. But it sounds mad saying that now that you've said that to me. We've only conceded 17 in the league this season, but like if I want that surety of we're going to have the same centre-back pairing every week, so that's why I'd go for it.
So but your argument then, you've only conceded 17, we're on 30 games. Let's say we concede 24, which I don't think we will, but let's say we concede 24. Very few sides have ever conceded fewer than 20, ever. So you'd be basically paying your 80 million to move us from 25 conceded to say 18.
Yeah,
I'm fine. I'm just thinking this is when you get better and better, these are sort of like, you know, like I could say, well, I'd do it on a centre forward, and then someone might say, well, to be honest with you, what you do it on a centre forward, yeah, I would, yeah. Well, Salah's the second highest goal scorer in the country, Mane's the joint third highest goal scorer in the country, and Firmino's broke double figures. So what are you spending that money actually on? So I'm not, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
we can do this right everywhere.
Yeah, it's a healthy debate, and I'm sure, like, you know, when the gutter shows that you're going to have between now and the end of the season, there's going to be a lot of discussion on it. But it was just a point that came into my mind yesterday that I just thought, you know what, actually, I mean, there's a lot of discussion around there, you know, the midfield, whether we need another creative spark, like a Fekir, you know, whether we can try and go back in for him or not. But just me personally, like if someone's saying to me, right, you're going into that transfer market in the summer, you can buy one big player, I'll just go, sod it, go and get another centre half.
Okay.
But that's just not because we're desperate for one. Sorry, just that's just my own opinion.
No, as I say, I think it's the case anywhere. I think anywhere you go, you can make an argument where you can go, well, hang on.
Well, there's the thing as well, isn't it, about like sort of, and we'll be doing all this, no doubt, on shows as we go on, but like, you know, the argument as well about like who comes and why do you come. We've seen it before. I think it was Brandt, wasn't it? Like the feedback we sort of got back off that deal or potential deal was that he had a look and was like, not going to get in the side. I'm not coming. And I think you might have a bit of that, you know, like certainly up, you know, if we're talking about players at the top end of the pitch, it's like, well, that front three's always playing. So where am I getting the game?
It's a tough sell. Spurs have the same issue, don't they? But I think, end of the defence thing, and Neil makes a great point about, you know, goals conceded. The only time you'd maybe feel panicky or nervous is Van Dijk had to come off the team for a period of time. And then all of a sudden, you know, you mentioned before, Robert, Matip's doing okay. I think a lot of that doing okay is because he's next to Van Dijk. Yeah. If you suddenly had to go next to Lovren for a period of time, I'd be nervous. Going into some big football matches, I would be nervous.
What do we want to Firmino? Working through the game. And also not just Firmino, it's the full front three really. But a start with Firmino, Gareth. He sort of, I think, takes Lallana's lead a little bit. You know, Lallana starts, I think, gets the team going at 1-0 down. By the time it's 2-1 up, I think, you know, you can make an argument Firmino could be our best attacker. And I think throughout the whole of the game, he gets his 2 number 9 goals, 2 tap-ins, but he also does everything else that he does all over the pitch.
Yeah, he was fantastic. He looked like he was really enjoying himself, and you know, who didn't enjoy the double celebration thing he did as well. I mean, but that's what you want to see. I want to see our footballers enjoying themselves, and it hasn't always felt like that in recent weeks. I think, you know, we've all done our best to talk ourselves into, oh, they're not feeling the pressure, and they're definitely not fucking bottling it, because that's a load of bollocks, that word. But I think maybe at times there has been bits where you're saying this.
You maybe enjoy it less, wouldn't you? Feeling like, because it feels like it's on the line.
It feels a bit of a slog, and like, but I think you saw from Firmino against Burnley, there's a man enjoying his football, and there's a man that knows he can stamp his quality onto a football match as well, and he decided to do that, and that was brilliant to see. And he's got that little aggression in him as well. That little, that Klopp talked about. Lallana's got it. Firmino's got it as well, and it does set a tempo. And I think the way the whole team almost seemed to be going to him when he scored a goal as well was nice to see. Do you know what I mean? It feels like he's a popular fella. And rightly so. I mean, I wish I hung round with Bobby Firmino. Do you know what I mean? just to see some of that clobber, up close, and those teeth. But yeah, he was on it, wasn't he? And again, that bodes well. I always look for stuff like that when I'm at the match. Just little signs that all is well. And I think we saw against Burnley that all is well. And we've got all these games coming up. We're going to Munich this week. We've got Fulham next week. I think it's massive as well, by the way, that we've got an opportunity here to go to the top of the league.
Yeah.
I know, like, we will have played the game more, but I just think psychologically there's a thing there where City will be looking at it and going, for fuck's sake. I mean, I've seen some quotes from Company before, and he was basically saying, we're all saying to each other, Liverpool are going to win every one of these games. Well, and that's good. That's good. That's good that they do. And I like that Klopp said as well, there's a message here from today, and that we're not going away, we're here. And that's what we need to keep doing. And everyone needs to be on that same page as well. I'm still... maybe I just need to fucking quit social media for a bit of something. But honest to God, like, get behind what we've got going on here, because it's absolutely brilliant. Believe me, I've watched some absolutely turgid shit in the Liverpool Red down the years, and this isn't that. And we've got every opportunity to be ending this season bouncing around the city holding the trophy. That's a great thing.
You know, when you've just said turgid then, I've just thought of something right.
Yeah,
no, I was too young for that. I was only in nappies. When you say turgid, well, before every game, like in the job that I'm doing, like stats wise, we get all these stat packs in. They always give you, like Opted, they give you the last 10 seasons, like where Liverpool were at this time in the last 10 seasons. And Neil, Gareth,
send us it.
I'll have to show you. It's an absolute eye-opener, because this time, like in the last 10 seasons, I was looking through it the other day, and some of them seasons, God, they were dreadful. Yeah. And I can remember half of them because I was going to them week in and week out, and we are absolutely flying above all of them. No,
we were on 60 this stage last season. We were on 60 points.
Yeah.
We're 13 points better off, and we were 21 points behind City at this stage last season.
Like Rod's,
we're one behind them now.
Just on your Firmino point there, I thought he was great yesterday, I have to say. I think there's been times this season where he's not quite hit the heights, but I loved his goals, proper number 9 goals. And when Solskjaer talks about Marcus Rashford and the type of goals he should be getting, he means them.
Yeah.
Goals right in the penalty 6-yard box, following up things, proper, like, sniffing out opportunities. I thought he was superb yesterday, Firmino.
But the thing with Firmino and with the rest of the front three is that they want to beat their targets from last season. Firmino got 27 goals in all comps. At this time now, I think he's only got like 13 maybe, So he's looking at his head, I'm not nowhere near where I want to be from last season. Same with Mane, same with Salah. They've all got their targets that they want to beat. Mane's close to beating his. He's on in all comps now. I think he's 17. So he got 20 in total. Salah's on 20 at the minute. You're not telling me that the three of them are sitting there personally looking at their head thinking, right, I got X amount of goals last season, I want to beat that. And in the recent form that Firmino's had, you can tell it's got him down. And he's probably at home doubting himself, thinking, oh, come on, I just need a goal. I need a goal from anywhere. And yesterday he gets 2.
I think that, Mane, I think the front three yesterday, Joel, I thought they all play really well without it being some sort of explosion, without it being the pairing, if you know what I mean. I think that the three of them all have, almost individually at times last season, the three of them collectively will play their 9 out of 10 games all at once, and that makes them look like 11 out of 10, if you know what I mean. Whereas I thought yesterday they all probably got pretty close to a 9 out of 10 game. It just tended to not be literally in the same moments, but I think that all three of them play really, really well.
Yeah, I think it's probably collectively one of the best performances they've had all season, because they haven't scored in that many games together compared to last season, but you could tell that, even though Salah never got a goal, he's right at the heart of it. He's involved in
the first three.
In the first 3 goals. So he's looking at it thinking, well, I hope he's looking at it coming off the pitch thinking, well, all right, I didn't get a goal, but I feel like I'm getting there. I'm so close to getting there.
There's something in the three goals where in all 3 of them, Burnley are out of shape, making mistakes because they're so scared of Salah.
Yeah.
That Salah's done something that gets at them. Heaton ends up in a bit of a mess because I think it's Mo Salah running at him there. I think that in both occasions Heaton ends up in a bit of a mess because of Mo Salah. The goal, the second one is Salah makes it happen by contesting that ball. Ian, there's again, talking about link men who aren't silky. There's ways of winning football matches and playing really well that at times aren't silky. Mo Salah's had 3. I think you can call all 3 of them assists, and not one of them smooth as silk, but all 3 of them result in goals for Liverpool, and Liverpool win the game when the opposition score 2 goals.
Absolutely, and I think the manager will be conscious that Mo may be feeling a little bit down that he hasn't been bagging recently, and that's why he singles him out for his performance yesterday. But I thought, similar to the Watford game, maybe not quite reaching those heights, he was absolutely kind of central to what Liverpool were trying to do yesterday. He causes them no end of trouble, and you're right to reference the fact that because Burnley is so worried about Salah, it does offer opportunity and space for the other 2, and that's obviously it helps with getting the goals and stuff. But I'm not too worried about Mo. I think a lot will be said because he didn't score, and there are times where maybe his first touch isn't quite where it needs to be. But I've mentioned it on previous shows. What I love about him is he never hides. He never ever hides. He always shows, and he's not one of those players if 1 or 2 things don't come off, he suddenly stops doing it. He'll keep doing it. He'll keep trying flicks. He'll keep trying to play his natural game in the hope that it will kind of come to the fore, and it did. And I thought all 3 of them yesterday were great in different parts of the game and for different reasons. And I have to say, Sadio Mane for me, he really is kind of on the cusp of being a world-class footballer. I thought he was brilliant again yesterday, and I think people will judge world-class against the likes of Ronaldo's and your Messi's, but for me, Sadio Mane's given me everything I want to see from a front 3 player. I thought he was superb.
I think if you take Messi out, you can say he's as good as anyone. I think if you take Messi out, you've always got to take Messi out, to be honest with you. But I think right now he can say, he's 2 goals off top scorer. He hasn't taken a penalty. I don't think he's taken a penalty for us this season in the league. He's 2 goals off top goal scorer there. He's absolutely coming alive at this stage of the season.
He scored more than Sterling, Hazard, Lacazette, Lukaku, Son, Rashford, and it's like it is weird. It's a little bit weird that he's like underrated. Not underrated, it's probably over the top, but people don't talk about him that much in comparison to Mo, in comparison even to Firmino at times, and he deserves all the credit in the world because I actually think he's really consistent as well. You said before about how there hasn't been enough games for everyone's liking where all 3 of them have been on it. Mane's been on it loads.
I'd say consistently he's been the best out of front 3 all season, to be honest.
And you would not want to defend against him because he's got so much in his locker. He's got that bit of aggression. He can take you on. He's got strength. His finishing's fantastic, as we saw again yesterday, although I don't know how he missed the one where he slid in, but it was just one of them, wasn't it? But Robertson's still fuming about that, isn't he, as well? But he's brilliant. He's absolutely brilliant. And like I said, I've just mentioned all those players that seem to get loads and loads and loads of praise and deserve, some of them deserve it, and they're great players. But when I had a night out with some of my mates over the weekend, and we were talking about Sterling and how good he is, and talking about when he left Liverpool and would you have him back and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, I'd have him back, but he's not better than Mane. He's not better than Mane. I'd have Mane. You know what I mean? He scored more goals than Mane. He scored more goals than Sterling. He's an absolute handful, as I say. I'd have Mane.
Look at his performance against Watford when he plays central. He's absolutely phenomenal that night. So I think with Mane, you're talking about a footballer who's extremely flexible as well. He can go left, he can go right, he can go through the middle, and he's just as good. And
his goal's lovely there. That first one's, and even the second one, like he goes quite well. Like I read a report before from the game, I was reading through a few of them. One of them described it as a simple finish. And I was thinking, is it, mate? You buried that then.
Yep, all excellent points. Mbappe, by the way, has got 24.
He's not bad.
So let's bear that in mind.
Just one thing on Mane as well. He's close to beating the club record, scoring in consecutive home games. Salah got, I think it was like 7 successful home games last season, but I think the record's around 8, maybe 9, or a bit further than that. So,
Aldridge?
Is Aldridge, I think? Possibly, yeah. So, and the fact that he hasn't played through the centre that often just shows you that goal return is just fantastic.
Next little thing then, I want to just move along. Firstly, Van Dijk against Wood and Barnes was just dead funny, in that they were taking turns to have a go. I think it was interesting if you wanted to get stuck into the tactics side, that they actually go at Van Dijk a bit more than most sides do. Most sides think to themselves, let's ignore the massive 6'6" fella and do our business somewhere else. But Wood and Barnes all do have a go. They don't get very far, but fair play to them for trying. I think that's trying to pin Robertson back maybe from Burnley's point of view, make Robertson worry. But Gareth, I thought Robertson was terrific, and the fun to watch in the ground, Van Dijk and Robertson, because there's an ongoing exchange of views there between the pair of them. They do very much have, it's a long chat they have for 90 minutes basically, and each has very much got a view on what the other one's doing. And it doesn't quite go the way you'd expect, which is Robertson does what Big Virgil tells him. Robertson very much does give it back to him, but the pair of them are just such a great unit on that side of the pitch. It's phenomenal stuff.
Yeah, I mean, they've got so much in the locker, haven't they? And you're right to say that, Burnley did have a bit of a go there and tried to sort of get physical with Virgil, which is quite funny to watch, because I think one of them ends up on the deck ultimately from it, which I'm not sure was
it's like fucking Terminator at centre half, innit?
I'm not sure it was totally an accident, that one, but no, I mean, they're fantastic. They're like they're linchpins, aren't they, in this current side, and so much of it is built on a bit of controlled aggression, and both of them have got that. And it's great the way they have little pops at each other. I really enjoyed that, and you've seen Henderson join in with that as well at times. The pair of them weren't fans of the linesman, by the way.
No, they weren't. No.
They were massively not fans of the linesman. And I was actually a bit I was a little bit worried that they were going to get sort themselves into cards. They were going on at them not that much, but we deserved it. But no, I mean, again, those two in your side. We've got so much to be positive about this Liverpool side. This is my thing, because we don't know how this season unfolds. But, so many times over the years, everyone around the table will remember it, that we build an half-decent side, we put in an half-decent challenge, and then we fall off the map again. And this side's not going away. They're all on long-term contracts. We've seen little, people try and have little nibbles about, he might go there and he might go there, and the club are closing it down straight away. And they're tying them all up to long-term contracts. As I say, you've got kids coming through as well, relatively young side. Whatever happens, Liverpool, from what I can see, are consistently finishing in the Champions League spots, going deep into the Champions League, challenging for a title. And this is what's needed to happen for a long, long time, because too often it's been a one-off and then they fall off a cliff. And as I've said it loads of times, and I'm quite happy to repeat myself, the one that sticks in the craw massively for me is that Liverpool weren't around to take advantage when everyone was shit and Leicester won the league. Because imagine, the points that they win the league on that season is ridiculous. You've got to be
81, I think.
Yeah.
You've
got to be averaging. I think they ended on 81, but I think they were actually crowned on 77. So, so Liverpool, the average across the Premier League history, I think, is 85, 86 if you average it out across all the seasons. But obviously, it's going higher and higher now. The level, the bar of City is ridiculous. Liverpool have stayed in touch. They'll stay in touch next season. They're not going away. And this is why, when we're singling out these players, you just feel like a bit of, you talk about Robertson, you talk about Van Dijk, and you feel a bit of pride about them, don't you? Because you're watching them week in, week out.
You're watching them get better on your watch.
And the top level footballers. It's like, we had a chat on Talking Reds before about Phil Neville saying on Match of the Day, there's no one better than Robertson at left back in Europe. And then, you unrolled your unbelievable European knowledge there for everyone, which was fantastic. But that's great, though, isn't it? I mean, regardless of whether it's Phil Neville and he's a bit of a blurt at times, to have people talking about our players in this manner, and, you've got a top manager, top goalie, top centre-half, top left-back, great players in midfield, brilliant front three, and we're all enjoying ourselves as well. Again,
look at the spine, Rob.
These are great times.
That spine there, and Van Dijk. I mean, the Van Dijk thing. I mean, I've just never seen centre half with seemingly no weaknesses. I mean, you talk about great centre halves, and people would say Ferdinand and Vidic, but Vidic. I mean, I think Benitez won a record of saying turn Vidic round, get him turned round, and there's a weakness. Torres exploited that. I just don't see the Van Dijk weakness at all. Yes, he'll make the odd mistake, because apparently he is human, but you don't see mistakes.
You don't see much.
Week in week. You hardly see any. The Robinson thing, I think, dead interesting. I thought he was great off the ball yesterday. I think on the ball there was one or two where it's kept into his game the last few weeks. He's been a little bit careless in possession. But again, off the ball, he was great and such a threat down that left-hand side.
It's the movement. When you say off the ball, it's not just like the idea that they've got it. It's his movements. It's the way in which he just makes runs, creates space. If he doesn't get it the first time, he'll go back in, get himself back on side, make it again, maybe get it then. But if not, if you're playing right mid or right-sided centre-half or right back for Burnley, you're like, hang on, someone's responsible for this. Can someone stop this from happening to me? Because this fella's really distracting me.
You know the one that he could have scored but doesn't score, and he's had a bit of a laugh about with Mane, and then it turned into one of them weird newspaper stories. But they were practicing that, because for once I got to the ground like really early and just thought I'll go in and just watch them knocking the ball around like I used 2 years ago. I enjoyed it, by the way. It was good. You should all try it. But they were practicing that. Robertson arriving late in the box and having a shot near post, and so it's a thing that he's arriving there all those times, and it's a thing that he obviously wants to score. He's determined to score.
He gets one apart from a last ditch, fantastic block towards the end of the game. He would have had his goal, wouldn't he? So.
Well, I noticed Robertson looked a bit knackered as well towards the end of the game. At one point, we were thinking, I thought he'd done something because he looked a bit like he was in pain a bit. Like, I don't know whether it was like up towards
the energy he puts into games, though, is phenomenal, isn't it?
Unbelievable. I'd love to have a bit of his energy, what he has throughout the week.
He would have boxed that half marathon win or not. Do you know what I mean?
He did it, That's why he looked knackered. Ran it first thing, went down, played, moved all that. When you talk about how good this side is, Joel, historically, this is a historically good 30 games from Liverpool. It's as good as 87-88. It is absolutely crazy. It shows the level that this side's at. It has not been... Liverpool have never had a side that's gone through 30 games with as many points as these lads. That they're not top is because there's another fantastic team in the league, and we've got to acknowledge that they got themselves a win at the weekend. But that's how good this team is. It's absolutely crazy.
Well, unlike the three of you in this room, I wasn't around when we last won the league. I mean, whether you remember it or not in full details, another matter. But you're right, and as I alluded to before, in the job that I do on stats, is that I'm always regularly looking at like where we are, and even from my own perspective, is that I've never known this Liverpool side as good as this. Just for consistency, for the assurity that we're going to win games, or we're going to do this today, or we're going to be in for this title right until the end, whether we win it or not. It's another matter. But I'm looking at all these players and thinking, I can't think now of a better spine than what we've got. Even the 08-09 team, the players that we had then, and you compare them to this lot, and this lot now at the minute, they're blowing them out the water. Whatever your viewpoints are in the room, I'd like to know. But like, I'm just looking at it, just thinking, God, how are we, the great side that we've got, we're not further ahead, and that's how good Man City are. I think it's also maybe going up against something that is just a phenomenon.
Saying that before, Joel, I think the manager's known he's coming up against this, and that's why he's made the decisions he's made. I think the one thing I would say is, it's hugely frustrating that this Liverpool side isn't 8 points clear, and we're not all having a massive party and thinking it's all going to come together. But then there is a flip side, that it's Man City who've driven this Liverpool side on. That's why we play the way we play through the autumn, just getting wins, hanging in there. It's why we come alive in December. It's when Klopp's put his chips down on the energy of the lads to get them on a great run then. You know what I mean? I think sometimes you've got to say, it might be that if this Man City side didn't exist, we might have 5 points less. But because they do, this Liverpool side's going toe-to-toe with them. This is a side taking itself right out of its comfort zone and going toe-to-toe.
Well, he was talking about it, wasn't he, after Wolves? What was it he said after Wolves?
Might need 105.
105 points. I mean, the other thing for me as well is that, if you analyse like how it's all worked out since Jurgen Klopp come here, and the things he was saying then compared to the things he was saying now, it still comes to mind for me every time we concede a goal at Anfield, the difference. So, because it's not very long ago where we conceded a goal and collectively the players, the supporters, everyone just went, oh, fucking hell. And like, that's it.
It happens under Palace, Klopp. It happens under Palace in
his first defeat, yeah. Well, I pulled the quotes on it before, and he says, hey, 82 minutes, game over. I turned round, felt pretty alone at this moment. We have to decide when it's over. That's what Liverpool are doing now. And you look at, conceding first at Anfield. We concede first to Arsenal, we swat them 5-1. We concede first to Palace, we beat them 4-3. We concede first to Burnley, we beat them 4-2. There's a pattern here that, you call it what you want, character, mentality, they've got it. This side, this group of players, the manager has got them into the place that he wanted to. Because I remember that around that Palace game as well, back then, 2015, he talked about how he saw heads go down, he talked about the wrong body language, and you could see, and it was right. There was a thing in the ground then of Oh, fucking hell.
Well, everyone got. I think his thing about 82 was that everyone was getting off.
Yeah.
Palace made it 2-1, and loads of people just
walk straight out. Yeah, walk straight out. You wouldn't do that now, would you? You wouldn't see that now because you trust this side, and you can sense that trust in the ground. I mean, I didn't think it was like raucous or mad or anything like that yesterday. It was never going to be for 12, despite all the appeals, but it was all right. It was positive.
Yeah.
You know, there were. You know, Joel said before, you always get little pockets.
I thought it was good at 3-2.
It was Sam.
I was really happy with it. You know, genuinely, I thought
there was a little bit I thought where they got down the wing. They got down the wing, and like I think everyone was sensing obviously that there's going to be a cross coming in. It was a bit like on Crouches on the pitch, and you were a bit like, and there was a little bit of a moment, but it wasn't bad. It wasn't like we saw against Leicester, where
it's not like we've seen in the past.
Yeah, and so I think in general that says about where we are, and that people are calm, and look, maybe. There is a different. I thought it was interesting that Robertson, you know, says what he says in that interview with him the other week about, you know, around the people who are watching the side regularly, home and away, and seeing it, because I think if you are doing that, you can't really fault them. You can't. I don't know how you emerge from what they've done after 30 games and be finding great fault about what they've done. It's exactly the opposite. You should be praising them to the rafters.
And I'll tell you what, I wouldn't be surprised if we're up there for the most points won from losing positions this season.
We got the most points from losing
Have we?
positions.
Yeah. There you go.
So that just shows you, 3 times there we've gone behind at Anfield this season, won all 3. Not like, we drew 2 and, won 1 or whatever. No, we've won all 3.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter in this day, at this moment, it doesn't matter if we go behind at Anfield, because it's like, right, we went behind, and you even saw Klopp, as soon as they went behind, he's turning around to the main stand going, come on, never mind that, come on, let's forget it now, we've got 84 minutes to turn this game around. That just shows that we're not beaten.
Bayern Munich next. Ian, it's actually tough to pick a side. From 3 plays, said before, would suspect the goalkeeper and the back 4 is the same. You'd expect Fabinho to play, but the manager does go out of his way to say that he thinks that Wijnaldum looks tired, which might be a bit of toffee for Bayern Munich, or it might be that he's actually already thinking might not be able to run Genie again here. Yeah,
possibly so. I mean, you're right to say I don't think there'll be any other changes to the back 4 or the front 3 unless it's an injury we're not aware of. I think the midfield one is the one that you think, how's he going to go? I mean, I think if Wijnaldum is fit, I wouldn't be surprised to see him go Wijnaldum, Fabinho and Henderson. And I know some people won't like that, and it's not necessarily what I'd do, because I think you could maybe do it an attacking player in there. And I think Keita will be the obvious shout, because he was showing some really good form, and obviously he plays against Bournemouth, does really well, doesn't feature at Old Trafford. So I'd probably be in that camp to have more of an attacking third player in that midfield. But I think if everyone's fit, I wouldn't be surprised the manager goes for Fabinho, Wijnaldum, Henderson.
Do you think he might do something in the back 4?
Yeah, I think Degsy rides again.
Do you?
I think Degsy will ride again.
He's not played for so long.
I know, but I've just got this feeling.
He's lashed it back in before.
Yeah, he has. He's done it before. I've got a feeling Degsy comes in for this. I think Keita will start, but yeah.
Who do you think Keita starts in place of?
I think possibly Genie, and then you're looking at Oh no, hang on, because Henderson never started yesterday, did he? I think either Henderson or Keita come in for Genie.
I think it wouldn't surprise me if both of them come in.
Yeah.
That one of them comes in for Lallana, one of them comes in for Genie. The other thing I think he might do is he might move Fabinho as a centre half if he can't get Lovren on the pitch. But I've thought that before and he's not done it, so what do I know? What do you think? But he might have in his head that Fabinho plays centre half against him in the first leg, and he might think he's got the knowledge. What do you think he'll do?
I don't know. I think he goes with the solidity that Ian's talking about, the one that people don't like, because I think there's a lot of talk about Bayern being sort of spent forced and finished and all the rest of it, and then turns out they were all
true,
right.
that is it.
Turns out they were all right.
Top of the league now in the
top of the league on goal difference now. They've won the last 3. They won on Saturday 6-0. They won the game before 5-1. They're all right, They're all right, and like I seen a piece from Mark Otti this morning as well, and he was saying that should they progress, they'd probably be something like 3rd favourites to win the Champions League. And so this idea that the mugs, they're not at all, and we're away from home, aren't we?
Yeah.
So of course we need to go and win it, but it's one where we need to just nick.
But we need to win the game, do we? You know what I mean? So I think because he'll know the first 20, you're going to be mad. And they're going to come at us, I think. I don't think they'll go hell for leather, because I think they'll be conscious of us picking them off, but I think they'll have a big 15-20 where I think they'll test us. I think the home crowd will demand that.
At some point they'll have like a big 5, a big 10. I just think they'll think we do not want to leave gap in behind, because we concede one with these runners. If he unleashes, the Guardiola quote, what are you going to do when Klopp unleashes his runners on you? well, that's what they'll be thinking.
Yeah, I think there's a difference between, going hell for leather, but also being attacking. So I think they'll be attacking without committing everyone forward, because they don't need to do that, and they'll be conscious of Liverpool on the break.
They were very safe at Anfield, weren't they?
Yeah, but let's be, you mentioned it there. Their record in this competition is phenomenal.
Yeah.
This is Bayern Munich at home, by the way. Their fans expect a certain level of performance. So I don't think they'll be going to be going and thinking, fucking hell, we're against Liverpool, we better just sit back and not attack. Yes, they'll be conscious that Liverpool can hit them on the break, because they'll have seen what we've done to other teams in European games. So absolutely, but I think you'll see a different Bayern Munich, and I think that's why the manager will think, I want to be solid early doors, and then I've got options from the bench. Don't get me wrong, I think I'd look at it slightly differently, but I think that's what he'll do, if everyone's fit.
6 of the last 7 seasons, I think, they've got to the semis.
Yeah.
Minimum.
Yeah.
They haven't been knocked out at this stage since 2011. That was against the reigning champions Europe, isn't it? So, I mean, they're a big set of lads. Look, we saw that at Anfield. They played very well. They were happy with the draw. They got out of it. But my concern is if it did go to extra time on Wednesday, I think it benefits them more than us, because we've got the more taxing games coming up. Yeah. Well, I don't know if Bayern are playing on the weekend, if they are playing on the weekend, but I think for them, they'd be happy to, although they've got their own title to win, I think for them it suits their game plan more if it does go deep. Whereas us, I think we'd tire a lot quicker, and I think we'd have to be a lot more careful about how we go about our game plan.
They play Mainz on Sunday at home. We've got Fulham away. It's one of them, innit? But I do take your point, and also genuinely, no one ever, because of the away goals thing, no one's quite sure about who's got the advantage in extra time, which I suggest actually gives it a balance. It shouldn't be that a goal maybe counts double, but then the flip side is, you're playing in your ground, so it is one of them. Prediction, Gareth, do you think we're going to go through?
I think it's dead in the balance. I honestly think it's dead in the balance. I mean, as a Liverpool fan, you always end up giving a prediction that's positive, and it's almost like, I don't think I've ever heard someone on the Anfield Wrap say we're going to get beat. And I'm not going to be that.
We'll smash 4-0. Sorry.
I've looked at it, lads, and to be honest with you,
I'm not going to be the first to do it either. I'm going to say we're going to nick it 1-0. But I think it'll be a tough game, and I think it'll be one of the, classic sort of game of chess and all that cliches, but I fancy us to nick it.
Do you? Yeah. It doesn't sound like it. I'm not going to lie to you. Joel.
I fancy us to go through on away goals. I said that after the first leg, but if they score first, I'm a bit worried. I'm very worried.
I think we're in for a long evening if they score first, because I think it's really difficult for us to pitch our game. I think it's actually easier for them to pitch their game if we score first. I think it's really hard for us to pitch ours, and I think that's something we've been bad at this season. If there's one thing this side needs to learn how to do, it's to pitch the moment a little bit better. And I think in a few of the big away games this season, it's not done it as well as I'd like. Don't
forget, we've lost our last 4 Champions League away games in a row, haven't we? So we need to nip down the bud if we're going to go for it. We are historically shite away in Europe.
Fucking clowns. Ian.
I'll go 2-2. The Reds on away goals.
The Reds on away goals. Big last 5, that, isn't it?
Fucking huge last 5, honestly.
God, I'm nervous. You're just talking about a bag of nerves. That's what you should be, though, because it's a Champions League last 16 game, and they're absolutely brilliant. The Champions League is absolutely brilliant, and Liverpool get to play in it this week, and they get to play in it, and then they get to go top next weekend. I think they're going to go through, and I think they're going to go top.